Hello, my name is David Nguyen, and I am a technical marketing engineer with Cisco's Server Switching and Virtualization Product Group. This video is part of a series that is intended to show some of the unique advantages made possible by Cisco's server offering called the Unified Computing System, or UCS for short. This video will show the viewer the value of details of unified ports. And a lot of today's data centers still has your traditional LAN network connection and your fiber connection. So therefore, it's really important to have a device that gives you that flexibility of doing that. At the same time, you see a lot of folks also be exploring ways to help simplify the network. And one of the protocols that allows you to do that, or technology, is fiber channel over Ethernet. With fiber channel over Ethernet, you can definitely simplify the network by converging your LAN and your SAN into a single infrastructure. That's the one thing unique about the 6200 Fabric Interconnect. It's been developed or architected with a unified port. The unified port allows the ports to be a fiber channel or an Ethernet and support lossless Ethernet, which is very important when it comes to storage traffic. Another unique advantage about this unified port is that all the ports on the 6200 Fabric Interconnect are all unified ports. So it really gives our customers that flexibility and control on how they want to configure and deploy the box. There's no restriction on what ports is to what. So, if their current infrastructure is still a separate LAN network and SAN network, then they configure just a standard Ethernet and the fiber channel ports. And in the future, they have plans to, let's say, go FCOE. Now, they can configure the port to be FCOE, where it's going to be two things, right? The FCOE port can be directly connected to a direct attached storage device that has an FCOE port, or it can be an FCOE uplink port into a SAN network that has an FCOE gateway, which will do the translation of the FCOE and FC packets. And that's really important because now the SAN network guys can still migrate to FCOE, but they're on an existing operating system or infrastructure or device that they're really comfortable with. Obviously, the Ethernet ports can be connected into or will be connected into our UCS B series servers and our C series servers. So when configuring these Ethernet and fiber channel ports, there are some configuration considerations that we must adhere by. First, before we dive into it, let's give you a quick tour of the box, or configuration of how the box actually lay out. There are base ports, and these are 32 fixed ports, and the ports can be Ethernet, that's 10 or 1, or it can be fiber channel that supports 8, 4, or 1 gig speeds. And there's a modular slot that we support what we call GEM modules. The first GEM modules that we support are 16 ports and the same port types. Ethernet's going to be 10 or 1 gig, and fiber channel is going to be 8, 4, or 1. Now, when you configure, or by default, when it first comes up, they're all Ethernet ports. But if you decide to configure fiber channel ports, then the first set of ports or block of ports needs to be Ethernet if you have Ethernet sets. And anything remaining will be fiber channel ports. The second thing is, anytime you make these changes, it requires a reboot. Now, if you were to do the configuration such that you make the fiber channel Ethernet split on the base ports, then you need to reboot the entire switch before the ports will take into effect. If you make the ports changes only on the GEM ports or on the GEM modules, then it only needs to reset the GEM module itself. You don't reboot the entire switch. So the recommendation is that for any fiber channel Ethernet configuration that's going to be changed, the recommendation is always do on the GEM module itself, because then it's less intrusive and doesn't need to reboot the entire switch. You only need to power on and power off the GEM module. So let me log into my box here, and what I want to definitely demonstrate you just where and how do you configure or change the port types. As mentioned earlier, the 6200 by default comes up as Ethernet ports, and when you want to change the port type, you just need to go to the Equipment tab, expand the Fabric Interconnect, and click on the Fabric Interconnect, which one you want to change. So the changes that you make are on a per fabric base. Alright, so to get to that configuration change, go to the action, and you see this configure unified ports. Just click on that, and what this warning message is basically telling you is that any changes that makes will require a reboot, and it will reboot for you. Okay. So remember, as I said, there's two different parts of the fabric interconnect. There's the base port, which is this right here, which are the fixed 36 ports or 32 ports, and there's the modular port, right? So recommendation, always try to change it on the modular port, because when the changes are made, it will just reboot the port or this gem module itself. It won't need to reboot the entire switch. All right. One other thing is, if you look right now, you can tell I have some fiber channel ports and I have some Ethernet ports. How you can tell is by the color scheme itself. Blue represents Ethernet and purple represents fiber channel. Now, if I want to change or add additional fiber channel ports, I just have to move the slider. So anything left of the slider tick will be considered Ethernet, and anything right of it will be fiber channel. So I can have the option just to move it all the way over to the left and make this all fiber channel ports. Okay, or I can go the other way and just move right and make that Ethernet ports. So if you notice how if I move it, it changes the colors to reflect what will the configuration be. After you're done, just hit finish and it will reboot this device. So let's go over some of the possible deployments you can do with this 6200 Fi. If you have a remote office or small deployment, you have the capability to have a direct attached storage connecting to whether it's Ethernet, fiber channel, or fiber channel Ethernet. Because this Ethernet can be lossless Ethernet, it gives you that flexibility to do iSCSI or FCOE. Another type of deployment is your typical deployment where you have a different LAN and SAN network. So you have an Ethernet connection going into your LAN network, and you have a fiber channel port going to your SAN network. So it gives you that capability of doing that. And when the storage device guys are ready to converge over to FCOE, he may just want to do FCOE up to your storage device or storage network and have his gateway there where it does the FC and FCOE conversion. And then from the storage network connecting to your storage device can be FC or FC. Again, that's the control of the storage guys. But ultimately, the big point is that going to this type of deployment is there for the customer with the Fabric Interconnect 6200. And second, it gives the control to the SAN networks, and it gives them the flexibility to migrate when they're ready to migrate. If they want to take this step even further, because the 6200 supports FCOE multi-hop, you can definitely do a converged infrastructure where you merge both your SAN and your LAN into a single infrastructure. So now from the 6200 Fi, you have an FCOE connection up to your converged infrastructure, as well as an Ethernet connection into that converged infrastructure, and they'll break it out accordingly. So now you have a storage device, most likely it's going to be FCOE. So you can see the power and the flexibility of these type of deployments with the 6200, where it can support multiple different types of deployment, and gives you that flexibility and investment protection with the 6200s. So in summary, the unified ports on the FIs really simplifies the overall operation for the customer. The customer is in total control how they want to connect into the network, and at the same time it gives the customers the power to migrate if they choose to move to FCOE at incremental steps and really realize and simplify the network, which will ultimately help them to reduce the operations and CapEx. To end this UCS Advantage video, where we show you how unique capabilities in the Cisco UCS can lead to simplified deployment models with much faster service turnaround to meet the increasing demands of the business. Please go to www.cisco.com/go/UCS for printed collateral, including the brochure that highlights the information shown in this video. Thank you very much.